Welcome to another episode of Growing Your Real Estate with your host, Jacob Davenport. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a networker. I have some short-term property, some long-term property. I do some flips. I'm a proud father, and I just love real estate. Also kind of navigating a community called Deal Mastery 201 with 10 active members where we're just masterminding, networking, doing property walkthroughs, navigating the school of the hard knocks. And today we have one of my guests that, as always, all my guests are special guests, but this guy is part of my community. Isaias, phenomenal guy. He's going to drop some jewels. Isaias, how you doing?
Doing well, man. Just excited to be here. First podcast ever. So thank you all for watching, and let's see how this goes.
Yeah, this is the first of many because you have a lot to share with the world and the real estate community. So I think that today people will be able to walk away getting some very good jewels, some novel insight on what it takes to get in real estate and kind of understand your journey and how that can correlate to theirs.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's something that has never been self-evident to me. The confidence hasn't been there, but as I speak to more and more people, they're like, "Hey, you should share that more. A little bit, have some unique experiences and some good knowledge that I think could serve others." So here to deliver.
Absolutely. You come from a very, very humble spirit. And I think a lot of times that's why we try to stay measured and we struggle with self-doubt. But knowing you personally, that's not the case. And as you continue to grow, I'm just proud to be a friend and work alongside you. But without further ado, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name's Isaias. I'm 30 years old. I'm also a father, first and foremost. I'm a man of faith. I have a strong relationship with my faith. I think it's number one for me. And then apart from all that, in my personal life, I'm a business owner, small business owner. We're doing residential projects. And then I also work full-time job. So we're out here trying to do the residential project space and get really, really buckled down on that and become experts in that. And then also dabble into real estate. I'm wading my way in so I don't jump in and jump straight into the deep end.
But absolutely. You are definitely a measured man. And today, that's essentially what we're going to get into. So much of this podcast is growing in real estate. It's all growing in real estate. And so today, some of the things we're going to talk about is your journey and what that looks like. Where have you been? Where you're at now? Where you plan to go? And really just get a deeper dive into who you are as an individual. So again, I want to thank you in advance for hopping on the podcast. And if you're ready to roll, I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to get into it. So ready when you are.
You're 30 years old, right? And you're in real estate. When you say you're in real estate right now, what does that mean?
That means I'm actively looking for deals right now. So I do a lot of driving for dollars, or when I'm running my projects with my crew, writing down addresses, and then I have somebody that helps me. I'll look them up, and we call and we ask for the opportunity, or we investigate a property, see what's going on. And then obviously I have a relationship with some people that flip, and we help do projects, roof tear-offs, drywalling, outdoor transformation. So I'm in real estate in that aspect.
Absolutely. So how long have you been in real estate?
Not very long. I think it's been a year that I decided to start my own business on my own and try to tackle these projects and help people out to finish their projects. So just over a year, I'd say.
Yeah. So you actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have a full-time 9-to-5.
Correct.
And you also have a full-time real estate investment business that you're growing as well.
Correct.
So you're 9-to-5 and then 5 to 9.
Yeah, and then weekends too. We're here work, and this is work too.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your personal business. First, give us the name.
It's called C Squared Enterprises. So I left it very vague on purpose because I know that I couldn't go directly into what I wanted to get into. So I know the long-term plan was to get into flipping and building and, becoming a developer in a sort of way. But I had to leave it bland because I knew I had to start with small projects and get my experience. There's no way you're going to just out of nowhere, not having a background, not having connections, be able to just start developing from scratch, from the ground up. So
that's a very, very, I just did a live session today and it talked about construction, and you having a background in construction and the way you've integrated yourself into real estate by way of starting what you call smaller projects, but I think a lot of them are larger as I'm watching. You took the construction route. Some people start off in real estate investing by becoming a real estate agent. Some start off as becoming a flipper immediately. Some start off with doing some wholesaling, some cold calling, some admin work. Your introduction and birth to real estate as it totally was from the construction standpoint, more specifically through your business, C Squared.
Correct. It was a lot of analyzing which path I wanted to go on. I had to recreate my career path in a way. So I started educating myself, and it started with real estate licensing courses. And I saw, okay, what does this entail? And I couldn't rely directly on sales from my lifestyle. I have a daughter, I have, bills to pay. So I kept my 9 to 5, and I said, oh, if I drive into real estate as a real estate agent, I'd have to do this full time 100%, and that's something that I wasn't really comfortable with at the time. So I said, what are my other options? And I had an uncle who was already doing landscaping and wanted to get into the project. Said, I can help my uncle, and then start dabbling in the concrete, start dabbling in this, that, and the other. And in my background, I have experience in a couple industries related to real estate, not real estate as a whole, but roofing, framing, drywall, and things like that I had done just to get through college. That kind of all formed together to say, okay, do the construction first. You can always educate yourself and get your license, and then as you go, vertically integrate. And that's the path that I'm on. I'm trying to get as much skills as I can, pay for the education that I need, and then obviously go through the steps to become who I want to become.
You seem like you ever figured out, man.
I think it took a long time, but I'm very comfortable with who I am right now and who I'm choosing to become.
Yeah. So who are you right now, and who are you choosing to become?
So right now, I'm a small business owner who's working on himself every day, getting closer to God, and then trying to get better at being a small business owner and investing, learning different tricks of the trade, tools of the trade, building my relationships. And the man I'm trying to become is, for me, someone I needed growing up. I'm trying to be a role model for my future kids. I'm trying to be a role model for my community. And I want to do that through real estate by being a developer, lifting up the community a little bit, providing, giving back, adding value.
Mm-hmm. That's good, man. Shout out to you.
Thank
Shout
you.
out to
Thank
you.
you.
And for those of you that don't know Isaiah, he very much like he just said, he has a company called C Squared, and that's a company outside of his 9 to 5. So he's working his tail off, sun up to sundown, 7 days a week. Sometimes I feel like 8 days a week because you don't even know what day it is. And within this C Squared company, he provides landscape and hardscape services. You guys should follow him on IG. What's your IG handle? Remind me.
C squared ENT. That's my business one. And then my personal page is C squared Isaias.
Absolutely. You know, the proof is always in the pudding, and I've seen a lot of the work you're doing. He's done from concrete work to rocks to framing to awnings to roofing. The proof is there, and I think that not only do you offer a very good service, you're extremely honest, and you know what you're talking about. So anybody that's looking for any landscaping or hardscaping, I definitely would suggest that you go to this page and check him out. I don't endorse a lot of people, but I know this guy personally, and I know his work. He does great work, and so looking for a bid or estimate, get connected with him. My next question to you is when you look at real estate as a whole and investing, you first have to know your strategy and what you're trying to get achieved. And then once you do that, you start finding out just how much more difficult real estate can be or how much more work is involved. It's very involved, and you have to have a variety of skill sets. You, in particular, have the access of construction, the knowledge and know-how of construction. If you went down the real estate path, like you spoke about earlier, being a real estate agent, you may have access to more deals, and you may have a greater idea of the market trends and what's going on with the market a little closer. You chose a construction route. How do you think that choosing the construction route has given you a competitive advantage, or if at all, a disadvantage?
I think it gives me a good advantage because before I was really deep in the analytics and looking at a deal and crunching the numbers with you guys and everybody here in the 101 and 201 community. I had no idea. I remember hearing people price square foot for what? Like, how can you just look at a job and say, oh, it's this per square foot blanketly without even analyzing what's going on? So now I understand why people do that, what's behind it, what drives that. It's because these guys are getting a ton of leads. So they can't be there every day walking every job and say, oh, this one has a lot of nails. Oh, this one, the studs aren't really lined up correctly. So they have to give a blanket term. But for myself, if I'm analyzing my own deals, I have to walk the property so I can, in my head, analyze what's going on. Like, and I know what goes into it. So people think, oh, it's drywall, just hanging up drywall. No, there's specialized tools for drywall. you can't just use any drill when you're hanging drywall. You got to use a special drill. You got to use special tools, and it's not someone that you just want, some guy that's willing to do labor at minimum wage to finish. The drywall is the texture on your walls is what everybody sees right before paint. So it's important. And I think when you're starting out and you don't have that knowledge of what it takes to frame a window or what it takes to finish a house, you're just kind of blind, and you're taking what people give you at face value without really any information to back it up.
Without understanding the whole journey of and the concept of it.
Exactly.
So as you grow in real estate, do you see yourself ever hiring a contractor, or do you see yourself for the most part always managing your project on your own?
I think if you want to scale, you have to. You can't handle 30 projects at a time. You can vertically integrate to a certain extent, but at some point you're not gonna be able to be the foundation guy and the framing guy and the window guy and the plumbing guy and also do the solar now that they're required to do solar for builds.
Correct.
You can't.
Yeah.
You have to build relationships and rely on other people.
So right now, you find a deal tomorrow. Do you see yourself hiring a contractor or self-managing yourself?
For specialty work, 100%. Like, I want an electrician. I don't want to be responsible for the electrical work and things like that. So high-end trim, I don't want to be responsible for that. I want to make sure the moldings and everything, if I do crown trim, all that stuff, that gets done by somebody who's gonna do it right.
Yeah, and I'm asking you more specifically because you have a very good understanding and foundation of construction, right?
Right.
And I did a live earlier today about the pros and cons of working with a contractor. With a contractor, obviously he or she will take on a lot of risk, right? They're insured, they're bonded, they're assured that they're bonded. Their license is governed by the contracting board, and so when things happen under their watch, they're on the hook as well, right? In addition, you talk about being vertically integrated and growing. You can scale yourself when you take that path. You doing a flip again tomorrow where you're at, and you kind of share with us, and people can follow your Instagram about the type of work you're doing right now. There's hiring a sub or there's hiring a contractor or subcontractor to do a piecemeal, different parts of a job. Are you at the chapter where if you find a property right now, you let it go, you give a contractor to lead the whole construction and he hire all the skill sets and you just check in with him maybe once a week? Or are you saying that you hire a licensed contractor, more specifically like an electrician, and he only does your electrical and you manage all the other skill sets?
Yeah, for myself, I think the reason I would do a flip right now is for cash flow, and I'd like to get it to the finish line quicker. So if I only have 2 guys on my team, I can't do the bathroom and also run the wire at the same time. But if I hire a contractor, or if I hire an electrician, he can do all the electrical work, and I can get another one for the tile in the bathroom.
Yeah,
and they can finish the bathroom while he's doing the electrical while I'm on the roof.
And got
you. It's gonna sprint.
Got you. Concepts are important, and that's why I keep hitting the nail on the head, because some people, when they underwrite a deal, analyze the deal, right, they get the deal. After they close on it, they have a contractor say, hey, give me an estimate for all the work in the house. And then they say, okay, do the work.
Yeah.
What you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that, hey, if I execute on a deal, I will shop out the electrical, or I'll shop out the plumber, right? And they can do the work. And I'll pay them, but you're still heavily involved within the operations.
You have to project manage because you don't want people getting in the way of each other. That's a delay for the contractor, which you're getting in the way of their business. They want to be in and out and do their work without any interruptions.
Yeah.
So you have to, first of all, coordinate and get the quotes correctly for whatever it is you want to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest misconception about the construction part of real estate investing is? Or what are some of the misconceptions as you've grown into it? People will say, well, I'm just going to get this flip and hire a contractor, and it's just, I'll be out in 30 days. I'll be out in 60 days. What are some of the things people miss? Is it the organization of it or what?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that people have a hard time grasping, in my experience, is the permitting process. Like, that's a ridiculous process that it's in nobody's control besides the county or the city or whoever you're dealing with. So I had a flip that I was working on in Seaside, California. And I finished that early December. They just got the permits approved to start construction last week. So imagine you were that contractor or somebody else who acquired the property, and you're saying, okay, go get the permit, and you're thinking, oh, it's just going to the county and saying, hey, this is what I want to do, and they look at it. It's not like that. They have a backlog of things they got to follow up with, and other people that are way ahead of you, and sometimes it's out of your control. It takes 8 weeks to get a permit approved. You can't start. If they go by and they see that you're already working before a permit's approved, well, that's on, like you said, the contractor's license.
Yeah.
It's a strike against their license.
Yeah.
And they're risking their business by helping you out to get your project finished faster. So those are, I think that delay in the process is probably the biggest one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then I look at another one that I think a lot of people struggle with, and you give us some insight. How do you manage the relation? Like, what are some tips you can give us in managing the relationship with contractors, about payment, about expectations, agreements? What are some of the things that individuals that are just starting in real estate should keep in mind when building these relationships and agreeing to whatever it is they agree to do?
I think it's like I was speaking to you in another conversation where you got to treat people like people. Some people think because you're paying somebody that you can just talk to them any kind of way, but it's a relationship. And the more you put into any relationship, the more you're going to get out of it. At the end of the day, it's a value exchange. And if you want your money's worth, you have to put in your effort and contribute your value, whether it's helping them out and saying, oh, you know what, I don't want it like that. Oh, we didn't talk about that, but you know what, do this, or however it is that you have to navigate that relationship with the person. Navigate the relationship so you get the most out of it, and it's a win-win for both.
How can somebody protect herself in a relationship? And when I say somebody, I'm by no means am I painting contractors in any bad light, right? But I'm not educating contractors, and I'm not a contractor. I'm always educating people that are getting into the first deal. And I think that you would agree that not all people are created equal. Well, we are created equal. Not all contractors provide equal services, is what I'm really trying to say.
Yeah.
And the way you say people are important, the way you say you're embedded in your faith, I don't think that people all across the board will be as aligned with you and what you provide. So I have had experiences many times where I didn't feel like I got what I agreed on the services of a contractor or a subcontractor when I paid them. And there's no recourse. And so working with somebody that's licensed is very, very important. But in those types of relationships, if I'm first starting into real estate investing, one, how do I identify who's a good contractor?
I think you got to see somebody who has all their ducks in a row, because when you're coming out and getting a bid for work, you want to see that they have a contract that makes sense. And a robust contract is a good indicator of like, hey, this is not my first rodeo. I've done this before. It's detailed, itemized, like this is what's included in your scope. This is what I'm excluding. If it's not in here, then I can't, that's not included in the price. That way you guys avoid hiccups. And then as somebody who's contracting work out, you got to know what you want. You can't say, hey, come do my backyard and, make it look nice. And then I deliver something, and because you didn't tell me, oh, I wanted stamped concrete here, and then you didn't get it. That at the end of the deal, everything's done. You're not happy. You gotta really, really manage it and know what you're asking for.
Yeah, that you make a valid point, because to know if a contractor is a good match for you, or to understand how your project's going to be executed, you have to know what you want.
Exactly. You can't give them a picture and say, oh, can you do this? I mean, what do you mean when you look at a living room, per se, and you see a nice mantle? You don't know what material that is. You don't know. That could be marble from Italy, for all you know.
Yeah.
And you're asking the contractor to get in. You have your budget set.
Yeah.
But you're not understanding the process or the timelines to import things.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So do your research and then make sure you know what you're asking for. And if you outline that with the contractor, they should be able to give you a price or be realistic with you and say, hey, that's out of my scope. I can't even do that, or whatever it is.
Good, man. That's some good insight. When I look at the state of real estate right now, and we're in Northern California, like analyzing deals, finding deals, and growing, because you're doing so many activities. You're using your 9 to 5 to take care of your family, your daughter, and keep the lights on and do the activities that you need. You're leveraging your additional time, if you have any extra time, to grow your business as well. I'd imagine at some point you'll transition from your 9 to 5 and run your business C² full time, and then utilize that money as well as the education, resources, and relationships to grow your real estate empire. what do you think the hugest bottleneck for not just yours, you specifically, what do you think the biggest bottleneck is in regards to the state of the market right now that can slow that process down? Is it the access to property? Is the profitability of deals? What do you think is challenging most people's engine as we look at the state of real estate investing right now?
I think in terms of somebody who's looking to do deals is probably going to be their access to capital, because it takes money to do this, and once you have one deal, you gotta kind of wait to pull your money out and then go do the next one. Because I think a lot of us in our community, especially just in the chats, and you see they're throwing deals up all the time. They're saying, what do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of that? And a lot of times they can't lock it up because the money doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So for me,
what does it mean the money doesn't make sense? What does that mean?
So for someone who doesn't have capital, like for someone who needs full funding, you're going to pay a price for funding.
You're going to pay a price.
And that's going to affect your bottom line. That's going to affect how many deals you can do.
Yeah.
And I think money is just a tool just like everything else. And that it's a very powerful tool. So if you want to go and develop a new piece of land or get a property under contract or whatever it is you're trying to do with real estate, it's going to take some capital up front to get that done. But with the state of how things are right now, I think we're in kind of like a crisis. We need housing. We're super constrained with housing. There's ADUs going up like crazy. So I think the more access to capital you have, or the easier it is, or the cheaper you can get it, the more you can do with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and there's capital, and then there was a variety of terms of capital, right? You have the capital, the cash, the money, right? But then there's this intellectual capital, something you solved for. You have unlimited. You're rich beyond means when we think about the intellectual capital back to construction, because when looking at real estate, getting loans for a property, right, or closing a property with 30% down or FHA 3.5% down, that can be a solid number, but there's no greater expense put out than the cost of construction when you're navigating a deal.
Correct.
From ACs to roofs to foundations, you name it, electrical, it's not cheap. Price of goods continue to go up. But to be able to understand not only how to navigate the cost of construction, but know the cost of it, your intellectual capital of understanding construction allows you to understand if you're overpaying or underpaying.
Yeah.
It also allows you to understand that you can go buy your own material very likely and still hire a contractor to execute it. Not on all projects, but just the sheer know-how, like you're in hardscaping. You know where to get the rocks and the plants and the dirt and the concrete and how to measure it per yard and how that number fluctuates. When you begin to scale or even on your first project, the riches are in the niches. Understanding that information like that gives you a competitive advantage that most people can't compete with.
Yeah, I'd have to agree, because a lot of people dabble in real estate. They never fully get in because it's very hard. Like, we've been trying for months. Nat, you heard Nat. She said she's been trying since June. I've been trying since a little after that to actually secure a deal, and we're still at it. But from a conceptual standpoint, real estate is easy. You look and you say, oh, that property's ugly. Just make it nice, and you make your money. Yeah, there's an ocean of knowledge under that from the top down. It starts at the roof.
Yeah.
Some people are getting into real estate. They don't know what a ridge is on a roof. They don't know what a valley is. They don't know what a fascia is. Mm-hmm. So all those things could cost you money. Then you get into the attic. There's codes for attics. There's codes for insulation. There's codes for heating, ventilation, how you run your electrical. Come down into the ceiling. I mean, you got to finish. You got to know what it takes to run can lights. You got to know what it takes for everything.
Yeah.
So they're all the way down through the house. There's an ocean of knowledge, and there's people that are experts in these fields. The contractor's license are divided into tons of little industries. There's a contractor's license for everything because there's an ocean of knowledge for everything, Mm-hmm. And apart from the knowledge comes the expertise to actually do it.
Yeah.
So you can say real estate construction is the most expensive because there's a lot to know and a lot to do.
Yeah.
It's not just about, hey, that house is ugly, let me fix it up and sell it, and I'll make a pretty penny.
Yeah.
It's not that simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easy to, paint it all with one brushstroke, but it's never that simple.
Yeah. I want to compliment you. I think that in the Deal Master 201 community, I think that you've always brought a lot of knowledge. You're a man of very, very few words, but very, very. I mean, every time we talk, we go pretty deep, and so very wise individual. And I think that in even how you conduct yourself with different people in our community, it's always as a gentleman and as a source of knowledge. You're always very, very fair. You brought up somebody earlier, Natalia in our community, who I think is freaking amazing, right? And you said, she'd been working since June to get a deal. You kind of been working shortly after. Let's talk about like Natalia. What do you think a person like her's biggest asset is in regards to real estate? As you understand, it's not that easy. There's an ocean of knowledge. Why do you think somebody like her has what it takes?
I think she has already had like a repetition in something really difficult. So I've heard her story about how she came over to the United States and she had to translate a book. This is before Google Translate, so the resiliency is like defining characteristic about Nat for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that's going to serve her well because she's already been through a huge, uphill battle trying to learn the language and speaks it fine now, but she's going to have to learn more and more as she goes. But she's already had practice in that type of game, She knows what it takes. I think for a lot of people, for most people, especially now, the times are changing. I think if I was raised super old school, so my dad was tough on me and he was never gave me anything, always had to earn it. And I think for a lot of people, things are a little too easy. So they're not used to having to struggle. They don't feel hunger. They don't know, okay, I got to try this for 8, 9, 10 months and then see one result, and then say, okay, I'm on the right path. But a lot of people, they meet a hardship and, their life is flipped upside down because of one little hardship.
Yeah.
I don't see that for Natalia. I think she knows how to power through things.
Yeah. Do you think that, because I think that I agree, you both similarly have that tenacity, right? And so many other people in our community as well. Do you believe that serves you very well?
Yeah. Stubbornness, tenacity, however you want to call it, but you set your sight on a goal. And, there's a lot of reasons to abandon your goals, but you can't. When you want to reach something worth reaching,
it's not an option.
It can be an option.
Yeah.
Can't even consider it.
Yeah. And I remember her sharing her story, which was a very good story. I didn't know all of that about Natalia, but I remembered her sharing her story and it sat with me. And so my question to you is because we're always transparent. After hearing her story, how did that make you feel about your journey?
I've always felt like I didn't. A lot of people will hear my story of my upbringing and they're like, oh, damn, he had it rough. But I've never taken pity on myself. And when I heard her, I was like, damn, there's a million people that have it worse than me. She had it worse than me, So I was like, damn, I got to go harder. She had it. She's making me look bad,
For sure.
She had it way harder than most people I know,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think it just makes you realize, like, first of all, your situation is not that bad. There's a lot of people who are dealt a worse hand that do more with it, And all props to Nat because she's killing it.
Yeah, and I share that same experience, but I share that same experience. However, what is your story? What is your story?
Well, I grew up in Turlock. My dad was a trucker, so we were always outside. We had a little ranchette, 2 acres right there. Always outside. My dad could not see us inside the house, so I have 3 older sisters and a brother, and my brother and I were always out doing stuff. And my dad, my grandpa, his dad came over as a bracero from Mexico. So they were
bracero movement.
Yeah, they were all in the fields working over here, Ripon, that area. So his upbringing was in the fields 6 months and back in Mexico 6 months and back and forth. So,
real quick, for those that don't know what a bracero is, what is that?
A bracero was a work program. Back in the day. They used to invite people to come work the fields, the farm labor movement. So those are the Cesar Chavez days.
More specifically, they would invite people from Mexico. Was it just Mexico?
I'm not sure about where they were sourcing people from, but it was definitely a lot of Mexicans up here in California now, thanks to that movement.
Right. Yeah. Fact check. I mean, because when you hit on that, people from California, our generation, so much of our history is so important. And when I think about like the Bracero movement, right, I don't know everything about it. I read a few books, but somebody's gonna have to fact check me. But it's something that actually sticks with me. Shout out to Cesar Chavez, right, and so many other people that had increase the equal rights and equal pay for so many industries that we don't. You say people have it easy and they give up. If they knew, like your dad being old school, understand why it's so difficult, they might have the tenacity and that dog on the inside to keep moving. What your dad instilled in you has taken you so far and continues to keep your grind on. But one of the things that I learned is that even with the settler movement, you would, let's say a lot of people would come from Mexico. They would come here, more specifically California, and they'd work in the farms and get greater pay here in the United States in California, and then go back to Mexico, be able to provide for your family. It's 6 months on, 6 months off. And it was a very good opportunity for some people. Some people end up staying.
Yeah.
And to see like your dad leave his family, leave his family to come out here and work, right? Or others to come out here and work, make money, send it back home and do this every year for a greater opportunity for somebody like you. And I don't think, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting your dad. He probably had every intentions of doing the best for his family, but could never know his son would be this dope in real life.
Thank you.
And so the sacrifices, I'm sure our parents like, I'm work hard, provide for my kid. We have daughters about the same age, provide for my kids. But to see, are you first generation?
Technically, yeah. Because he would live over there and over here. My dad would go to school here for like a few months and then go back to Mexico. So he finished 5th grade here. Yep. And then, just worked the fields.
And look how far his son has come. So he's got to be proud.
Yeah.
Got to be proud. Good. We could have went deeper, but I just think that it's such a blessing to be able to see because you could do a lot with a little, right? And for you, you're working around the clock, 7 days a week, giving it your all. We just was talking about Natalia, giving it your all with nothing guaranteed. And I can speak for myself. Real estate is very, very difficult. You have a lot of challenges, and you put so much work into some things, and there's no guarantee you're going to get something out of it. In fact, a lot of times you dig, and it's an empty hole. And so for you to continue to put forth your efforts, sometimes we define success with money. When I look at it, the more I get to know you, what your dad and parents sacrificed and how you didn't spoil the sacrifice. That's really what I'm getting at. Sometimes we pour into our kids, or people pour into us, and we do nothing with it. And to see you continue to grind and shine and network. And I said, the way you treat people with respect, now it makes sense. Your parents weren't playing any games. You didn't have a choice. But you treat everybody with respect. And I just think that it's a testimony to, one, like I said, your parents, but two, you've adopted what they taught you. And that's probably one of the bases of why you're going so far, is you understand hard work. You understand the people. You're embedded in your faith. And you're a champion for other successes. So, man, shout out to you.
Thank you, man. It's been a long journey, and it wasn't always like that, It takes a long time to realize that your blessings,
Yeah.
So for a lot of time growing up, I was like, oh man, my dad's so rough, or I have the hardest life in the world, and you got to realize like you're blessed regardless of what your situation is. You're blessed
regardless. Yeah. What was the turning point? Like 16, 17, 8, you're 30 now.
No. I was right after I graduated high school, I wasn't 18 yet. I moved out. I was like, I can't take this. Or my dad is too rough on me, Yeah. So I was just looking for freedom for a long time. And then I just went to college just because somebody told me, you got to go to college.
Yeah.
So then I said, what do I want to be? And I was like, oh, I like race cars. I'm going to try and be a professional race car mechanic. So I went.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. I went. I was trying to go mechanical engineering to do the race car thing. And then I got the opportunity to play soccer in college. So
okay,
I went down to San Bernardino, played my years there playing soccer. They didn't have mechanical engineering down there, so I switched my major to business. But I still wanted to do the race car thing. So I tried out for a professional racing team as a mechanic, and I made it on the team. So I was in college, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I would travel the U.S. on a professional racing team, going state to state, doing like a pit crew mechanic.
Yeah.
I was doing it for Reardon Racing out of Salt Lake City, Utah. So shout out to Reardon. But they gave me the opportunity. And that's when I learned you can't be the race car driver. And then also, oh, you know what? I got to tweak something. I didn't like how this was vibrating out on the track. I got to go change the suspension. No, there's a guy who does the design. There's another guy who's on the machine milling the parts. There's another guy fitting it. Then there's a analytics. There's a race engineer. There's a professional driver. You can't get to do it all. So I was like, first of all, I wasn't making any money as a mechanic. And then I was like, I'm never going to get to do what I want to do. So I just left that and finished my degree, moved back here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of lay out the concept of running a team. Anything you do, you have to do it with you. If you want to go far, you better do it with a team. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And as you grow real estate, you cannot know. I don't know anybody successful in real estate on their own. They can say it, they're lying. You need components to even find your deals, capital, leverage, right? The money that just poof, right? And so when you look at how the race team had an umbrella of people with different tasks, a team. What does team mean to you as you grow your real estate business?
I think it for me, I've struggled a lot with my confidence over the years, like as a young man, then growing up and realizing who you are and then trying to be a professional. It's something that is just not natural to me. So developing a team and finding people that I can rely on, sometimes it's paying for mentorships. It instills confidence in you. And when you have that confidence, that's when you can take the next step. Without that confidence, you don't even know to knock on a door. You wouldn't even pick up a phone to make a call and ask for an opportunity. So for me, having the team and then actually building a network of people that I can talk to, that I can ask, has instilled a lot of confidence in me. And not just through having the connections, but also getting feedback from them.
Right.
Like, oh, you could do that. Yeah, I see that in you 100%.
Right.
So the more confidence you have, I think the more willing you are to take a risk or to ask for an opportunity.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's the only way you're going to get ahead, is if you actually ask for opportunity and you take the risk of the opportunity that presents itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're hitting it on the head. You are. I'm totally aligned. And I kind of asked. Let me try this one more time. Working. I mean, you've traveled the United States with this. First of all, I didn't know you was part of a race team. But all right, we're going to talk about that back. but in understanding that corporate structure, that's a big business, right? Where the bottom line is important. Were there had to be some takeaways you learned from that you apply to your life every day?
Yeah, I think for when you're starting out, it's hard to kind of manage yourself and say, what is the best use of my time right now? So I kind of learned that I have to be my manager, my own man, pull myself out of my head, look at my situation and say, how much time do I got? What do I got going on next? What are my first priorities, second priorities, third priorities? And then kind of manage myself, because, man, I feel like I struggle to get tasks done, or struggle to prioritize, or struggle to take initiative on things that I know is going to be an uphill battle. And if for myself personally, I've always been better when I have somebody else like relying on me. So if you ask me to do something, I'm gonna do it. If you ask me to be somewhere at 5 a.m., I'm gonna spring out of bed at 4 and get ready and hit the road. But if it's for myself, I've always struggled to get up out of bed. I'm gonna hit the snooze one more time and learn it, seeing how it is in the corporate world and how I behaved in the corporate world.
Right.
Now that, because I have a salary job.
Yeah.
When somebody asks me to do something, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it right now. Learning to take that kind of approach to myself and manage myself more professionally has been the biggest takeaway for me.
You're a very loyal person. You're a very loyal person. You and I can see where you're going with that. It seems like part loyalty, probably man of your word. You show up for others, and sometimes you don't show up for yourself.
Yeah, I had struggled for that, and I've always been like I don't know if martyr is the right word, but always willing to sacrifice myself or whatever, my time, my money for other people.
Yeah.
But it served me well, and then there was a point, I think we spoke about this, where you get self-analytical, whether it's typically for me, it's around anniversaries. So my personal anniversary, my birthday, I'm a year older. What have I done with my last year? Or New Year's Eve. It's a new year. What did I do the last 12 months? And I get analytical like that. What have I done?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't for a long time that I had to go through this pattern recognition where every 6 months I was asking myself, my birthday's in June, so it serves me well. Like, my birthday's in June, 6 months later, New Year's. So I'm always asking myself, what did I do the last 6 months?
Yeah.
And it was a good, I finished college. I was already 24, And it was a good 4 or 5 years of,
Mm-hmm.
asking myself, what the hell am I doing with what have I done the last 6 months?
Yeah.
And that pattern recognition is what got me to realize, oh, you're like this.
Yeah.
Why am I like this? Okay, you need to change that about yourself.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until a few years later after college that I realized, like, hey, the path I'm going on is not serving me well.
Yeah.
Let me take a step back, relax, analyze what kind of man am I? What kind of man do I want to be? And start on this journey.
You thank you for sharing that. You just mentioned that Natalia's been putting in her work, getting closer and closer to a deal. She's kind of been working on this since like June, July. And shortly after if we're talking about timelines, you've committed to deal analysis, finding deals, tracking down deals, and I've seen you work. What makes you, that's a little over 6 months you've been doing it, haven't been able to lock in the first official deal and make some real big money. What makes you think that you even have what it takes to do it?
I think I've seen enough in myself of taking things to a good level without applying a very focused, very disciplined effort in my past. So, like, for example, I went to play college ball, and a lot of people, that's their dream, playing for a university. I went to Division II NCAA. I was, and I never played academy.
Uh-huh.
I never had a personal trainer and none of this. And growing up, all these kids played academy and got to go play. And I was able to reach that same level as the kids that I saw grow up in academy and have personal trainers. And I didn't realize all this till way later, but I reached that level of success, and I was like, damn, if I would have tried and been focused,
right,
I would have done this. And then I went to the professional race team. I never had a background in racing. My dad never
had a race car. Dreams.
That's a lot of people's dreams. That's their end goal after 20 years of a career, is ending up there.
Uh-huh.
And I was able to reach that.
Yeah.
And then in another avenue too, I remember 2020, I started this business that I have now. I was doing residential projects, and I was finding deals, and somebody called me up to see if I could help them with the property up in Calaveras County.
Right.
And that led me on a whole nother route for a couple of years of finding people to place at licensed properties. Mm-hmm. So I grew that business in a couple years to something crazy. I had like 200 people under me, and that's another industry. But that came crashing down pretty hard, and that business failed. And that's when I started analyzing. I was like, whoa, what am I doing? I've had successes in these little avenues. What kind of person do I want to become? I started looking at different business models, and I said, real estate's, I like that. I've always been hands-on. My dad always had me working outside in the fields, or, doing stuff around the house, or helping other people's projects at other people's houses. And I said, if I can do all this stuff,
yeah,
I can definitely make a success in this. So
you are extraordinary. You really have a knack for perseverance and have an eye for where to be. Some things you can't know everything, and so when a business doesn't go as well, that doesn't mean it's even direct representation of you. Industries change, but to be able to take things as far as you've taken them, sometimes you probably don't even realize how talented you are.
Yeah, I think it's not until you take a step back and look at the whole picture outside of yourself,
Yeah.
to pretend you're somebody else.
Yeah.
Look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
That you realize what's going on really in your life.
I'm gonna take a risk here, and if I gotta stop, then stop me, and we'll make sure we edit it out. But it's something that it stuck with me, kind of like what Natalia's story stuck with you. You told me a story about a ranch property we're analyzing. Property you grew up in. Could I ask you some questions about that property by chance? All right. So we were having a conversation, Isaias and me, some other people, and we were just talking about analyzing deals. And he said, Jake, man, I got this deal. We're analyzing, we're looking at it. And what happened was, it was an area he grew up in. And in particular, as we're analyzing the deal, he had an idea what the property looked like because it was on the street that he grew up in. But let me cut to the chase. At one point, the property you lived in, your family no longer owned it, right? And you guys walked away from the property, right? Real estate market goes up and down, values change. There were some risky loans given out, and so a lot of people faced that, as you guys all know, to the fiscal crisis of 2008. At one point, you wanted to buy the property because your dad owned it. You wanted to buy the property, and before the bank got too involved, and then flip the property. And what do you tell you?
said no, kick rocks. Yeah, my dad said no.
So the bank ended up taking the property instead of allowing you to be able to buy it. Was that tough? No.
That was a huge no. It made me change my relationship with my dad forever. That one, because he owed like 100K on a property, and it was like, as is was 400K the value. It was a little ranchette, so it wasn't worth too much, but there was definitely some potential to obviously renovate it and take it to what it could be. Like I said, I moved out at 18. This was 3 years ago, so I was 27. This is 9 years later. The property's been just in my dad's hand.
Yeah.
And he took a risky loan. I don't know his whole situation,
Right.
Over the years, our relationship has kind of deteriorated, so I was not that close with him.
Yeah.
But the opportunity came up, and I said, "Hey, you're underwater on this pretty bad. Like, if I offer you 250, would you take it?" And he said no. He wanted the full ARV, like after the renovation. He wanted $500,000. So I can't give you that. So he'd rather let it go to the bank.
Yeah.
Like, he could have walked away with a good chunk of change. I explained it to him.
Yeah.
But he'd rather.
I bring that up because relationships are important. You talk about like confidence, right? And you talk about showing up for yourself. I think that truthfully, as I'm 35 now, I have a 5-year-old daughter, and my relationship with my mom has never been better, and it sucked because I moved out when I was 17. I mean, I was a tricky relationship. I remember I hated my mom, right? But the older I get, it's not that my mom changes or I change. My wisdom becomes a little bit different, and I understand her for her, and I love her to death, and I'm not looking to change her. I used to try to change her. I'm not looking to change her. I understand our relationship. Some things I'm pretty scarred about, I guess, right? But my understanding of who she is allowed me to kind of grow. And so when you say that we have to trust somebody, and men definitely need other men to be trusted, right? To trust other men and kind of navigate that path. So much of your journey, you really take the bull by the horns and you continue to persevere. When I first met you, I thought it was a little suspicious just how quiet you were. I said, man, I'm going to keep an eye on that guy. He's just a little too quiet. But you're clean cut. You speak well. You show up on time. You show up early. You were just suspiciously quiet to me. Why do I say that as I've gotten to know you? On the record, this guy is too legit to quit. He is 100. He is a straight shooter, good guy. But what happens is our lessons become our biggest blessings. And what I call quiet is he's a very good listener. He's very observant. You don't see him waste time with frivolous things. He spends his time on the right things. Everything that as I get to know him is just like it's oozing out with value. And so much of your journey, more particularly when you say self-doubt, sometimes they're not showing up for yourself. You can get beat up in a situation. Our parents can leave scars on us. All right, that's what I'm saying. I'm being vulnerable right now, right? But it's also your greatest asset. It's really, really your greatest asset. I know this guy, like I said, personally. You guys can't hurt his feelings. He's not a hard ass. You can't hurt his feelings. He has had to go through decisions, whether it be with your dad or life, that were very, very tough. You had to make a decision at one point that you're going to take your ship on the road and do racing, right? And then walk away from that and then grow a business and walk away from that. Your feelings can't be hurt. So when I look at tenacity, and then here's the other thing, when my mom hurt, I remember when I was incarcerated, my mom never came to see me. I was gone for 4 years, right? My mom never came to see me. And I remember there was this guy named Bookie, a guy named Bookie from Sacramento. He just had his own challenges and substance abuse and whatever. He was an okay guy, but I just remember when I used to look introspectively, I'm like, I'm way more of a good guy than he. He would tell me some stuff that he would do, but I remember his mom would come in the wheelchair and come see him, and she would send him a couple of dollars, right? And I would scratch my head. I would say, I'm not jealous of this guy, but I'm like, listen, I've never done my family the way this guy would tell me these stories, but his family would show up. So it calloused me for a long time because I'm like, man, my mom didn't come see me, any of these things. And not appropriately processing it, I had to understand that of all things, I can never measure myself by anybody else. But my journey is my journey. And it allowed me to have a better understanding of life and people. My mom's an amazing person. I had to realize my mom couldn't afford to come see me. The other thing is my mom doesn't break the rules. My mom was so scared to go into that jail to come see me, she wasn't coming. See, sometimes we only pick the good things. We pick our perspective of an argument. We disagree. I pick my side, right? Well, the thing is this guy that I'm talking about in prison, just one guy. Well, he been in jail 50 times. So his mom been coming to jail. She's done this thing with him, and I didn't see that part, and I wish him the best. But what I'm saying is that part, not him, but that experience. My mom not coming to see me really scarred me. But my mom has never been to jail before, so she wasn't going to go anytime soon. She probably would break her heart if she had to walk through there and see her son in shackles.
Yeah.
So why do I say perspective is so important? Because when we think about the house that you couldn't buy from your dad, right, for whatever reason, the thing is I think that the curses are the blessings and the blessings are the curse. The no's, the heart, because that would hurt if my dad told me no, right? It would hurt, especially if it didn't make any sense, right? Because you're supposed to have my back. Well, I'm here to say, I know you're, of everybody I know, you're going to own the most amount of property. So those lashes and those no's and those disappointments and those feelings, that turns you into a dog. So when I think about anybody being able to handle developing property, building equity, scaling this, and being rich beyond means, monetarily and any other metric, well, you're one of them. So you can get it on the front end. You know, your parents can love, hug, and give you everything in the world, or you can deal with your experience. I just know what you're going to do. But that comes from the denial. That comes from the experiences that we probably didn't like. And so what you're doing is you're turning your wounds into wisdom. So when I say the way you handle people in our community, anybody, we had a Friendsgiving event. And it was you, Ruby, and a few other people. And you were carrying everybody's food, helping them get out the car. I still have the photo. And I remember speaking to Ruby and a few other people. They said, man, Isaias is just such a gentleman. Because you don't want anybody to feel the pain that you felt. That's why you said you show up for others, but you don't show up for yourself. You have committed to pouring into the world in a way that you don't want people feeling the way you feel. And I think that's very honorable. But I'm also here to tell you too, you have responsibility to show up for yourself, and you're doing it.
So it's been a recent realization, but I appreciate the kind words, but it's a recent realization for myself. And I think it comes with wisdom. Like, I see a lot of wisdom in you, and that's something that attracted me to be in this group and all that. So I think the wisdom comes from the battle scars.
Oh, give me one. I swear that's you're
that's
always
the only way you can't develop wisdom is by going along the path. And I mean, I've done a ton of stuff in my life. I feel like my goal when I was growing up, because I moved out early and I was, just so structured and by force, disciplined by force, structured by force in my household growing up, that I just wanted to be free when I was young. When I moved out and I was on my own, the plan was never to make it to 30 years old. Let's live fast and die young. That's what I wanted to do. But things change and things have developed, and all that willingness to, that the desire to be free and saying no to rules and all that. It came with a lot of punches. Yeah. That kind of lifestyle is very detrimental to a young man. Yeah. Freedom is very detrimental to a young man without structure.
Agreed.
But that kind of lifestyle that I had, where I was just in college, no parents, nothing, I learned a lot when I was on the road. I learned a lot in that other business venture in another industry. I learned a lot. A lot of the times you will not, you can't develop, and you can't be like, you can't have the calluses on your hands if you're not holding the tools, if you're not putting in the work.
Got to put in that work.
And you can't say, oh, I like how that guy works. He's got callous hands. He's got experience doing whatever he does. Yeah. That's because he's been putting in the work for years. And sometimes for someone who comes from a disadvantaged background, who doesn't have the connections, it's easy to be resentful. Mm-hmm. And it's easy for me, I used to hold it against my dad and be like, oh, he's such a this or he's such a that, this, that, and the other, without taking into consideration that thanks to him, I'm who I am. Thanks to him, I learned all about, hard work, and then it made me grow an appreciation for him. Because imagine being a little 10-year-old kid and getting pulled out of school. All right, you're going to go pick peppers. You're going to go pick strawberries. You got to have some some type of appreciation for that kind of
Yep.
lifestyle growing up. And I do, I can't hold it against him for
Yep.
the kind of man he is now, but he didn't have a upbringing and education. It was just, imagine growing up in the fields.
And 0 plus 0 equals 0. Nothing plus nothing equals nothing. What he poured into you is something he has.
And he tried, I'm sure, I don't know, I don't talk to him anymore, but I'm sure he was trying his best.
He's trying that's the wisdom I have.
Yeah.
We weren't there when he was working these fields, right? But that could be very, very difficult for a 10-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And so he gave you all he has. But the things that he gave you, I know who you are and the things you're doing. I know where they came from. They didn't just magically appear.
I think that's one thing that it got instilled in me is the work ethic. Cause
for sure.
He showed me a little bit of it, he forced it in me. You're going to work.
Yep.
And I can't imagine what he had to go through.
Yep.
So
yep.
Like I was saying, it's easy to build resentment, and when you don't realize what you're going through is going to serve you later.
It served you well.
And in that other industry, that business that failed, there's some sharks in there, They see, you think you're coming in there and you think you're doing good and you have good intentions. There's some sharks out there, people. You gotta be careful. And how are you gonna know to look out for the shark if you've never been bit by a shark? You're just out there swimming.
There's some sharks out there.
There's some sharks out there. You're gonna get bit,
Yeah.
And you want to be the big guy on the block, big, calloused hands, all scarred up. There's a reason why these people have these scars.
Pay to play.
Yeah, and I had that resentment because I see a lot of young guys in the industry, and they're flipping homes. I'm like, how is this guy so ahead of me? And everybody's doing their own race now as a realization. But I used to have that resentment. I'm like, oh, his dad owns a brokerage. Oh, his dad's been a flipper for 20 years. Okay.
They'll never tell you that. They'll never tell you. And we're not hating on them.
I'm not hating on them, but
they'll never tell you that.
It's been I say that to say, like, there's a reason why I'm going through what I'm going through, and there's a reason why people are in their race.
Yeah.
And then pulling back, it makes you appreciate.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything I go through because now nobody just put it in my hand. I'm going out there and I'm getting the knowledge from the ground up. And I had to put up sheetrock.
Yeah.
I had to do tear-offs on roofs, and I had to put roofs on, and I had to learn how to space shingles. So
and roofing is difficult too.
I appreciate that.
Hot.
And it's hot, nasty work,
And it's dangerous. You'll slide off that roof so quick and bust everything, fall off the ladder.
Yeah.
It's very very, very risky.
So I'm very thankful for my upbringing, first and foremost, and my dad. I don't talk to him anymore, but I'm thankful for him.
Dad, shout out to you.
Yeah,
all right. We appreciate. we understand that. We understand. I think that the other thing I'll also add is we're not hating on anybody, but it's important for those that are growing in real estate and grabbing on their first deals, really trying to navigate this. Be very careful what you see out there, because we use our competitors as a measuring stick sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. But I've been in this industry over 8 years. A lot of times there's what we call unfair advantages. People will hop on Instagram and say blah, blah. They'll say whatever they want. My testimony is from the ground up. I came home from prison in 2014, got into my first flip 2016, 17. My mom doesn't have any money. My dad doesn't have any money. There's none of those things. It's not, whoa, it's me. But what I'm saying is I've always been very careful as I've grown and known people in real estate that some people have access to capital that you'll never have access to.
Exactly.
Some people's parents will cut the check for $600,000, and that's shout out to them. But I can't compare myself to that and determine whether I'm on the right track or not. So, head down.
Head down. I think that's one thing that a lot of the people in this community, it resonates with them, that we see that in you, I don't think I see anybody in our community that comes from a privileged background. And a lot of us are just out here learning as much as we can and trying to be the best that we can and explore this avenue of
totally agree
wealth building.
Totally agree.
And I think that's one of my favorite things about this community is we all kind of relate to each other in a way, and then we all respect you for that.
Thank you. And I respect and I appreciate you guys, and I've grown and learned so much just working with you guys and alongside you guys, and the vulnerability that we've been able to put on the table and trust is being like second to none. So, I just thank you again. I appreciate it. I know we're going over already. I want to make sure that we get everybody included. Let's dive into a Q&A. Hey everybody. Again, this is Jacob Davenport. We have Isaias today. He's a whole lot. There's a lot of onions you just got to unwrap. He runs a very successful construction business of landscaping and hardscaping, from concrete to pillars to framing, anything you really need. I mean, there's some other things he does outside of landscaping and hardscaping, but I want to make sure that you guys get connected with him, because you can send him a picture. He'll give you an estimate. He does great business, great pricing. We'll share his IG as well. This guy's phenomenal. He's breaking barriers. He's first generation, no complaints, very ethical, and he's put himself as he embeds himself in his faith. I think that's another metric to determine why he just has so many layers. But we're going to go ahead and open up the podcast right now to Q&A. We're going to start first with our Deal Mastery 201 community. Does anybody have a question for Isaias today? It could be about C Squared, his business of hardscape and landscape. It can be about racing, soccer. It could be about his journey. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, he's here. This is the time to really narrow him down and get answers to those questions.
And I have a question, if you don't mind,
Please.
Isaiah. For the hardscaping or the concrete work, how you calculate or how you estimate it? Is it by the footage, or just you want to see the project and give a rough estimate?
I typically want to see a project, always, unless somebody comes to me very well prepared and they know exactly what they want, and they say, my ground's unlevel, this is the application it's going to be used for, this is the kind of finish I want, and this is my budget. Then I can just say, oh, okay, it'll be this much. But typically my customers are people who own homes. Their profession is something else. They're not going to be landscape professionals or contractors or anything. So they're going to say, hey, I want concrete. And then you go, and maybe some people want a little sidewalk. Maybe some people are going to say, hey, I want concrete. It's not that much. And it's a whole backyard, So I typically like to see a whole project. Like I have one right now that I'm bidding, and he said he wants a little concrete for his house, but he wants a whole new driveway. So
what's a little, right?
Yeah.
It's
all subjective, and I don't like to give a blanket price for square footage or anything like that. I like to see projects.
And I think that us as investors too, for those of you that be connected with Isaiah, I think that you have responsibility too. You should want somebody to come out and see the project. That way, we spend an hour on looking at the project, or 30 minutes drive, and you really eliminate all the ambiguity, right? And we really are all on the same page. I think that's the indicator. Anytime you work with a contractor that says, I want to see the project, that's somebody that wants to pay attention to the detail, wants to make sure you guys are on the same page. Anybody that gives you a blanket idea, you're probably going to get a change order later on, or some type of lack of communication that leads to a lot of problem.
Yeah, I think someone's going to be upset, because
somebody's going to be upset.
Either it's more work on the contractor's end, or you're not going to get the value for what they actually did.
Agreed. Any other questions?
And what's the area that you work in? I mean, in Stockton, in Sacramento, in...
I'm based in Turlock, so I'll do anywhere from like Merced to Stockton. And besides that, I don't think these little concrete jobs, it's not really worth the value for me to drive all the way up to Sacramento, because there's people that can do it locally for a good price, that live in Sacramento.
Absolutely. But I think that for anybody that is trying to grow in construction, if you want somebody to consult, I know that, he doesn't do it for everybody, but if you're in Deal Mastery 201, you can give him a call. And I think that if anybody is not local or in our Deal Mastery 201, maybe you can offer them some money for a consultation as you're trying to navigate whether it's grow your business, right? And I'm not offering a services, but most of the time there's these questions. Well, one of the best ways to get very quick answers to your questions and move your journey faster, pay somebody. Say, how much for this? And that will allow you to get somebody to commit X amount of time for you. And just by paying a little bit, you will really just move yourself a whole lot faster, instead of being in the unknown or question whether you're getting it right or not. But very skilled individual. Leonard, do you have a question by chance?
Hey guys. So basically, since you're the expert in the exterior of the house, me as an investor, can you give us some more insight on, I guess, like, what's something, I don't know, a secret, like what's something we should never be paying for related to like landscaping?
So Leonard's asking if Isaias can share some of the secret sauces to understanding hardscape. Are there some golden rules that we should keep in mind when working in hardscape and landscape and exterior? and contractors.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
analyzing the market as a whole is where I'll take this perspective from, because not as a landscape contractor, but analyzing the market as a whole. I'm seeing new builds get delivered with no landscape in the backyard. There's a pad for the sliding door, and that's it. So if you're looking to flip, I would not be looking to invest in the backyard. I look to clear out and give somebody a blank slate, because judging on what the new builders are doing and all the people developing property from the ground up, the value is in the curb appeal and what you're delivering on the house, the square footage and the area. I don't think I see too much value in putting in a whole backyard or a nice barbecue. That's a luxury for the homeowner, to the homeowner's taste. I wouldn't invest in that.
Yeah, when you're looking at you're right. That's why real estate is like an ocean. You said there's so many different components to give you indication, information, other things. What you'll find, unless you're buying the model home of a development, the backyard is never going to be landscape. It's going to be dirt. That you might have a step just for code, right? But it's going to be raw dirt. So if you're flipping a property and you're looking at where you're going to put your money at and your time at, the backyard should be not the first priority, right?
I wouldn't even consider. I'd mow whatever's back there and turn it in as bland as you could.
Hook up a sprinkler with one of those tick sprinkler systems on a water hose and spray it. See if you can throw some seeds, but that's the max. You're right. That's good. I think without further ado, let me check IG. We may have a question there. Okay, so IG, you guys have any questions? Oh, Jason Torres. When was your turning point when you realized you couldn't keep comparing yourself to others? Was it difficult? Was it a difficult pill to swallow?
Yeah, that was when my biggest business failed. I had a big head. Like Jacob said, I was 25 going on 40. Thought I had everything figured out. And I grew that business for like 2 years, and it ended up failing. And I was looking back and analyzing. I was like, why is this guy successful in this? Why is this guy successful in that? And then I said, hey, I'm on my own journey, you know? And that's when I took the step back and developed in my mindset about who I want to be. And it was a huge pill to swallow, because I had to look back and say, hey, I don't have anybody to rely on.
Right.
So I started getting into like the self-development world.
Right.
And that's when I made my own kind of mentorship, and not mentorship where I could go talk to somebody, mentorship in where I would consume what other people were putting down and say, oh, I like that. I like what this guy's saying.
Right.
Okay. And then I see little characteristics about him. It's like, I don't know about that, what he's saying, but this, I like him for this. And then I like him for that. And I like him for that. And I said, oh, these are the kind of men that I would aspire to be like.
Yeah.
You know? And then I had to go back in my own life experience and say, who did I respect growing up? And it was always like the blue collar guy. You know, that's who I respected. So, it was like kind of going backwards and unweaving the path that had led me to where I was.
Yeah.
To got me to realize like, oh, that's why things are like this. And now I got to form who I want to be.
Yeah.
You know, instead of comparing myself to others.
Yeah.
And then being strong in my faith too got me to realize like everything's not in my control.
Yeah.
It's in God's timing.
I agree. I love that.
God's doing everything for you how he wants it to happen. So
Yeah.
you got to have faith.
I love that. I put
it, the analogy that I like to use is that I'll be rowing as hard as I can row. I'll be in the back, but God's steering the boat. You know? I'll row.
Yep. I love that, man. I think that the concept I use is eat the meat, spit the bone. And so in life, take the parts you want and spit the bone out, you know, because you can take something from every situation, even what not to do, if it's not so much what to do. And there's a lesson and a blessing in all things we do. And so, but if you're vigilant enough and wise enough to understand that you don't control everything, right? So much of this, you do what you can and let the rest go, because there's a higher power all involved. But we have a responsibility to do the right thing and put in the work and show up for ourselves. And so I'm totally aligned. There's a gentleman by the name of Mike Gilmore, my brother. He asked, how do you market yourself outside of word of mouth?
Right now I do flyers. So I have this little pamphlet. It's three-fold pamphlet that I go and I drop off at new builds. That's my target audience right now.
Yeah.
Because like I said, they're being turned in with absolutely nothing back there. So for me, it's a good market. They need something, you know, you can't have just dirt. So we're doing pavers and concrete and pergolas and custom barbecues and things like that for them.
What do you think? What do you think your biggest project cost would have been?
In terms of like one aspect of a project?
not total project and not profitability, like what a customer is like, okay, I'm going to get this done in my backyard. 50,000, 30,000, 20,
Yeah, 65,000.
65,000. There are people paying 65,000 minimum. There's more.
Yeah, I see some people in the Bay Area, they pay like $2 million for a
Easy.
backyard. You know,
Yeah.
that's crazy. But over here in Seaside, California, we did a complete demo, new driveway, new concrete all around, low maintenance. So that was kind of cheaper for them, you know.
Yeah.
Low maintenance landscaping, new deck in the backyard, some steps, things like new fence.
Yeah.
So whole project $65K, which to me that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. For me too.
But
me too.
In the industry, it's normal. That's normal.
Right on.
Here in the Central Valley, we're doing projects like anywhere from 5 to 30K.
Easy. Yeah. There you go. Well, there we have it, you guys. Here's definitely another episode of Growing in Real Estate. We had the blessing of having Isaias come on today and just talk to us about what he has going on, who he is, where he's going. Very wise man of beyond his age, definitely. And I've enjoyed the podcast with him. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Isaias, do you have any last things you want to share with us as we kind of close out?
I want to kind of just connect again with you guys. So we'll see you guys all soon, wherever the next meetup's going to be.
Yeah.
And if you guys have any other questions or anything you want to ask directly, just reach out to me on my Instagram. And if you guys don't have my number, ask Jake. He'll give you my number. But
you can drop it. You can drop it if you want to.
We'll drop it on IG.
We'll drop it on IG. We'll get all the information. We'll get this podcast out as well. But again, this is Isaias C Squared. Keep your eye on him. He's doing some big things. I can only imagine what the next 10 years will be. As you grow in real estate, you put in the time. It's like slow, and then it freaking takes off very, very quickly. You get more business and more opportunity you can freaking control. And I think he's on the cusp of that. I want to thank you all again for being a guest on our show. This is all about growing in real estate. I'm your host, Jacob Davenport. We hope to see you soon. Love, peace, and hair grease, and talk to you soon. Thanks again.